Welcome, my viewer. My name is Bonnie Tinda. I'm going to do a presentation about corruption in Kenya, and I hope you're going to get something or two that you're going to find beneficial. Now, I'll begin by saying that Joe Biden, in a quote, he said that fighting corruption is not just good governance. It is self-defense. It is patriotism. I mean, these are key elements that involve fighting corruption. It's not just being patriotic, because you can be patriotic, but then you be quiet when corruption is taking place, when all this evil is taking root of our systems. And therefore, Joe Biden says that, of course, corruption is not just patriotism. It's not just keeping quiet. It is more than that. And talking about corruption, you know that when you mention the word corruption today in Kenya, it is not a word that is new. It is a word that is very common in newspapers, in TVs, in radios, and in many other platforms that people come and engage, because corruption is something that as being a challenge to this country for many years. We know the history of the Goldenberg scandal. We know the history of the Anglo-Leasing. We know the history of many uncountable cases of corruptions that have been in Kenya. And therefore, in this presentation, I'm going to show you a few ways through which we can counter corruption and tackle this menace in this very country. Now, the Oxford Dictionary defines corruption as a dishonest or a fraudulent conduct by the people in power, of course, typically involving bribery. And of course, we know this goes beyond just the people in power. It can include giving or even accepting bribes or even inappropriate gifts. It also involves double dealing, under the table transactions, manipulating elections, we know all that, diverting funds, laundering money, and even defrauding investors. Talking of corruption, there is something that is so destructive. It can destroy a whole system. It can bring down a whole country. It is something that can bring down Kenya if we don't tackle this matter from the word go. Now, just by bringing this into context, Transparency International, a survey organization and firm that does brilliant statistics and results, in its rankings this year, it ranked Kenya position 145 out of 175 in Corruption Perceptions Index. That was in 20. That is the statistics it released for this year. Now, this is compared to last year's position 136. That means that Kenya, actually, we are doing bad. We actually, the cases of corruption are going up according to this research by Transparency International. This means that this is something that we need as Kenyans to come together and tackle it and defeat this enemy once and for all. The other day, a report by the Auditor General in Kenya, he said that about a quarter of the country's $16 billion budget could not be accounted for. Just imagine that. A quarter of the total budget could not be accounted for. He says that this is money that has been lost through corruption. They can't state where this money is. In actual sense, by the words of John Githongo, this is a human rights activist, he says that we don't have a government, we have a scandal. He says that the systems through which corruption should be tackled are not working at all. We know that we have the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, we have the police, we have many other institutions in Kenya that have been put, including the judiciary, the executive, and of course the parliament, which makes laws, are institutions that have been put in place to tackle and make ways through which we can contain corruption. But in actual sense, this seems not to be happening. We have not seen key figures, key leaders, people who've been in power, being apprehended and taken to jail and being punished because of corruption allegations. They continue to move around, enjoying their lives. But then we must counter this menace. Now, I'm going to show you a few ways through which we can counter corruption in Kenya. Number one, as Kenyans, we must accept that we are guilt as charged. Of course, the international media and the Western powers and countries out there, they've continuously spoken and say that as Kenyans, we must admit that we are corrupt. We must admit that our systems are doing bad. And I'm saying that as Kenyans, for us to receive the healing from this menace, we must accept that we are guilt as charged. You and I, we must accept we've, in one time or another, either given a bribe or accepted a bribe. And therefore, all of us, I must say, we are guilty as charged. And therefore, we must stand and begin to find ways through which we can counter corruption in Kenya. Number two, we need to teach our children against corruption. Now, many people grow up and they get engrafted into the system, and we tend to just understand that this is how things work. I mean, for you to get this, you must give this. For you to get this deal, you must present this. But that is not how things work. As our children grow up, as our Kenyan children are nurtured and reared in this country, we need to begin to teach them that there is something called corruption. It is evil. It is dangerous. It needs to be tackled. Our children need to know this from the word go. In actual sense, if this can be included in the school curriculum, let it be done, let it be included in school. Let children be taught that this is evil. Corruption is evil. Corruption kills. It needs to be tackled. Children need to be taught this from the word go. Number three, we need to punish corruption. Of course, we say this many a times. We've not seen yet the big fish, the big people being apprehended for corruption. Just to bring this, to a clear observation, we saw just the other week the former cabinet secretary for devolution, Anne Waiguru. She resigned from her office because of corruption allegations in a ministry in the NYS. There is a scandal right there. And of course, we know that almost 30%, that is more than a third of the cabinet, of the whole cabinet, guys have been involved in corruption. Others have been forced to step down. But of course, we are yet to see any of them being charged because of these very allegations. That means that in Kenya, it is true, yes, we have systems that have been put in place to charge and to apprehend people who have been caught up in corruption. But it seems that we have not yet gotten to the root of the matter. We need to punish corruption in Kenya. We need people to be taken to jail, people punished because of their evils. And of course, this is number 4, and it is very important, it is very key, it is the 4th point. We need to change our systems. In 2010, we, of course, got a new constitution. We came into the devolved system of governance, but it seems like we also devolved the corruption menace into the counties, the county governments. There are many cases of corruption in the county governments. I'm saying that we need to change the system. We need to put up resources. We need to take it as an initiative, as a whole government, as a whole state, as a whole country as Kenya. We change everything. We change how things are done. We change how deals are done. We change how opportunities come to people. How resources are distributed in this country. The systems need to change. In conclusion, let me say this. We know the Pope is in town, of course, a state leader and a global religious leader. Kenya is a privileged country. The Pope is in town. And just the other day, the President of the United States, the most powerful man on earth, Barack Obama, was here. And these leaders have come and they've said this not once, not twice, many a times, that for Kenya to make a progress, we need to stand up and fight corruption. And I will echo the same words. As Kenyans, we need to fight corruption. We need to stand up. We need to take all of our arms together. We need to get our acts together and fight this very menace. Barack Obama, in his statement, he said that it is time to change these habits. I mean, it is time to decisively break this cycle because corruption holds back every aspect of economic and civic life. Let's stand up and fight this menace because we can definitely do it. God bless you and God bless Kenya.